Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you my favorite thrillers. So I am always a sucker for like crime, thrillers, historical fiction. So this is definitely a genre that I am very passionate about. So I have like a wide variety of thrillers on here that I think you guys will enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And so starting out, I first have The Bone Garden by Tess Gerritsen, and this one is a little unique in terms of a thriller because it has a historical aspect to it. So it follows this woman who moves into this 19th century home, and when she is kind of tending to the garden, she discovers this skeleton that was buried there. So she like obviously calls the police, and they find out that this body was one that's been there since like the mid 1800s, and so she's very curious as to how this body was there. So she does research on the owners of this house, and so while this is all going on, the story kind of flashes back to Boston into the 1830s, and we follow two characters there. We follow Julia, whose sister just died during childbirth, and she's left taking care of her niece, and then also, I forget his name, Norris, who is a medical student who can't afford to be at the school. So the school makes an agreement with him, so basically if he goes and essentially robs a grave and finds like the newly dug graves and takes those bodies for the medical school, like they will kind of omit his tuition essentially. These two characters end up crossing paths when they are somehow they witness these murders taking place, and this one is really atmospheric. If you can, like, I had a perfect image in my head of what like Boston looked like in this time, with it being foggy and just like these murders taking place, and it's just really creepy. I love the historical aspect. I think this one, that makes this one really stand out amongst the other books in here. So like I said, I really enjoyed it. I couldn't recommend this one enough, and like if you like historical fiction and these ones as well, I feel like it's a good mashup between the two genres. And then another thriller that is also by Tess Gerritsen, like I said, if I highly recommend you check out just all her works, like they're really good. This one is another creepy one that is like a medical thriller, and it's Harvest. So this follows this doctor who's a surgeon in training. She's a resident, and she ends up kind of stumbling across this black market in terms of organs being harvested. Obviously people are being killed for this, and she kind of gets immersed in it, but it is just very, like, the ending is so intense. Like this one, I'm trying to be vague with this one because I feel like it's just best to kind of go into this not knowing too much about it, just like a general premise of it. But this one is just really good. It's really creepy, and it hits all like the thriller points where it's like one point my heart was beating so fast out of my chest, I was like, oh my goodness. So like I said, this one is just really good, so you need to check it out if you are into this. And what's good about Tess Gerritsen too is she was a physician, so she is really good at explaining the medical stuff behind this, and she does it in a way that is easy for anyone to read, which is also a plus as well. So next I have Breath of Scandal by Sandra Brown, and this one is, I think it's a little different than, it's like a thriller, but it has like a weird spin to it, like that's unique. So it follows this girl named Jade who ends up being gang raped by three guys in her small town, and because it's a very kind of southern town where she was almost like shamed in that, and she ends up becoming pregnant, and we don't know what happens to her. So that's kind of like the general story, but she kind of like wants to go back and get revenge, so this is basically her revenge story. But this one is very upsetting just in terms of rape culture and just how it addresses that, because it is very relevant today, I think, and that's what really makes this one hit home. With Sandra Brown, I find like all her books always, like every chapter ends on a cliffhanger and you just want to keep reading and reading. So this one makes it go really fast. This one is one of her bigger ones, and it's almost 600 pages, but it's just, in terms of like how like the lead up is to the revenge, it's very interesting and very well done, and I really like how she addressed like the rape culture that is still relevant today. So this one is very unique in terms of that sense, so if this is something you're interested in, like, give this one a try. Next, this is one that is a little different as well, and it is The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon, and this is one that I read a couple years ago, and basically it is like a thriller with a historical paranormal twist to it, essentially. So it follows, so they move, like this family moves into this small Vermont like house that's been that's over 100 years old, and what happens in this house is something that is a legend in this town. There was a murder, the wife ended up killing a couple of people and then killing herself as well, so it's always been haunted. But in the forest kind of surrounding them, there is this legend of the Winter People, who are people who have died that are kind of like wandering forest. And so the main character's mom goes missing and she tries to find out what happened. Again, this is one that is very mysterious and thrilling, and I think it's just, again, like I said with all these, just kind of go into it not knowing too much about this, but it is just really creepy. There is one character in here that is described as having kind of like a fox face, and like just her like creeping through the woods like in the shadows is just like an image that really freaks me out. So this one is like a very interesting one, but like I said, just kind of go into it not really knowing too much and just like immerse yourself in it. I think this one would be a good one to read at Halloween as well, because it is a little bit creepy and all that stuff. So yeah. And lastly, I have Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This is actually my favorite of Gillian's Flynn published work. Like, everyone loves Gone Girl, and like everyone knows Sharp Objects because of the TV show, but this one is my favorite, and it did have a movie, but I didn't end up seeing it, but I don't think it was reviewed very well. So basically this follows this girl who is the lone survivor of her family who was massacred. Basically they were all murdered, and she was a lone survivor, and she was the one when she was younger who testified saying it was her brother that killed everyone. But now, after so many years after it, she's kind of questioning that, and she is approached by someone who doesn't think her brother was the one who murdered her family as well. So she's kind of like looking into the past and trying to figure everything out, but we also get more of the family's background in here. This one is just really creepy. Like, it is so creepy just in terms of like there's some occult stuff and sacrificing stuff like that is just like unsettling. And so yeah, like this one, like it's really creepy, and I read this maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, like, but I still like, it's really creepy. So just go into it if you are into like Gillian Flynn and you haven't read this. Like, give it a try. Like, I feel like this was like the original, like Gillian Flynn was like the original one that kind of sparked this thriller trend that kind of led to a lot of other books being published. But like I said, this one is my favorite. It was just really creepy and atmospheric, and like the scene with the family being like killed is really intense. So yeah. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite thrillers are and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.